Breaking news today, the so-called cannibalization within the MAGA movement isn't sabotage from external forces. It's a reckoning that has been years in the making. When leaders stray from America, first promises, the base demands accountability. The unfolding events could dramatically reshape the future of conservatism.
Hello, and welcome to That News Show, where we discuss the latest facts, fakes, and hypocrisy as reported by the legacy media. Let's roll the tape.
SNBC reports a self-described cannibalization within the MAGA movement, as noted by a former Trump supporter. This interesting choice of words is quite apt. When a movement founded on challenging the global elite begins to fracture, it suggests not external sabotage but an internal reckoning. Consider the fallout when leaders, having promised transparency regarding explosive issues like the Epstein files, later dismiss them as hoaxes. It's no wonder supporters feel betrayed. This scenario underscores a common issue across political parties. Politicians forget whom they serve and revert to typical Washington maneuvers. Let's see what we've got here.
And the fact that it's suddenly gone away and he's trying to gaslight us is like a punch in the gut to MAGA.
The ultimate betrayal, a quote, punch in the gut to MAGA.
This segment highlights a deepening rift within the populist right, not merely over a single controversy. When a movement committed to transparency and prioritizing America's interests sees its leaders abandon a key narrative, it's understandable that supporters feel betrayed. The Epstein files were a significant issue, symbolizing a call for accountability from the global elite, a call that resonated with millions disillusioned by deceit from both political parties and the media. The dissatisfaction extends beyond the Epstein case. There's a growing perception that the movement's foundational anti-globalist, non-interventionist ideals are being replaced by typical Washington politics. For example, sending weapons to Ukraine represents the type of foreign involvement that the America First supporters originally opposed. When even steadfast allies in Congress and influential online figures denounce these actions as betrayals, it signals a critical moment for the movement. What we're observing is more than mere disappointment. It's a crucial period of self-examination. The base is demanding genuine consistency, not just empty promises. They seek leaders who will confront the globalist agenda, oppose endless wars, and ensure true transparency. When these promises are not kept and accountability is ignored, a backlash is inevitable. This internal debate is beneficial for the movement. It offers an opportunity to reaffirm its core values and separate itself from the political opportunism that has plagued both parties for years. While the establishment media may focus on these internal conflicts, the real story is whether the movement can realign itself and hold its leaders accountable, or if it will succumb to the same forces that have traditionally put America last.
Donald Trump has never been this far from home, never this far away from the safe harbor of his typically loyal and faithful base. But that is where he is right now, and that is what happens when members of your administration promote a conspiracy theory for years and years and years, and then you put them in your cabinet and they turn on your followers and tell them they're stupid. Tell them that they believe in a hoax. Now that bombshell Wall Street Journal reporting affirms what the base believes. And Donald Trump's vow to sue the Wall Street Journal and Rupert Murdoch will test Trump's ability to really play jujitsu with his voters and rally his base behind an attack on the media outlet that's largely following the theories of his base.
The Wall Street Journal's reporting and the ensuing legal threats have exposed significant rifts within the conservative movement, highlighting issues that extend beyond mere media criticism. As a respected center-right publication, the journal's coverage of the trust issues between a president and his supporters signals a shift in the relationship between traditional conservative institutions and the populist base, a change that is long overdue. For years, the Republican grassroots have called for transparency and accountability from political leaders, particularly concerning the excesses of the global elite. The Epstein case emerged as a symbol of these demands. When the current administration's Justice Department dismissed the existence of a client list and closed the investigation, it sent a clear message. The commitments to drain the swamp and combat corruption might be more flexible than previously promised. This betrayal goes against the very principles that voters believed they were supporting. The Wall Street Journal's decision to publish details of the controversy, despite the potential repercussions, underscores a deepening divide within the conservative ranks. The president's choice to respond with lawsuits and denials rather than releasing all relevant documents only amplifies this skepticism. Legal experts remind us that unsealing grand jury testimony involves judicial approval and often results in significant redaction. So, when the administration opts for legal tactics over transparency, it's understandable why their base feels disillusioned. This issue is part of a broader trend where the administration appears to be moving away from America First anti-globalist principles towards a more traditional, insider-driven approach. The conservative base is paying close attention as the administration handles this crisis, and they have little patience for excuses reminiscent of past Democratic administrations, which were often accused of protecting the status quo. To preserve its coalition, the Republican Party must avoid reverting to establishment behaviors. The Wall Street Journal's editorial independence and its challenge to the pro-administration media narrative serve as a crucial wake-up call. The conservative base demands substantial actions, not just in terms of transparency in combating globalist agendas, but also in avoiding unnecessary foreign entanglements. Failing to meet these expectations risks not just a temporary setback in the news cycle, but a permanent loss of the very voters who supported this administration from the start.
And so for any of those who are in MAGA who are going to see this, and you're wondering if this is in fact the movement that you thought you were supporting, I want you to know that I am with you because I know what you're going through. It's why we founded our organization, Leaving MAGA. We are a community and a destination for people who leave and tell their stories, for those who have doubts, and for those who are related and have close friends who are still in the thrall of MAGA.
MSNBC's segment on the so-called unraveling of the MAGA movement, featuring testimonials from former supporters, exemplifies selective storytelling under the guise of investigative journalism. The network's reliance on anecdotal evidence presenting personal doubts and struggles as indicative of a broader collapse lacks rigorous fact-checking and balanced sourcing. While the visuals are interesting, with somber interviews and dramatic graphics, they prioritize emotional narratives over a substantive analysis of policy or grassroots sentiment, casting doubt on the network's commitment to objectivity. The coverage notably simplifies the Epstein files controversy, portraying it as a critical moment for the movement while overlooking the legal complexities and bipartisan failures that enabled Epstein's crimes to persist. The segment minimizes the role of previous Democratic administrations, including those of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, who ignored calls for transparency and accountability, especially regarding powerful individuals. Instead, it focuses narrowly on internal MAGA disputes, barely touching on the broader context that initially fueled these frustrations. In its expert analysis, MSNBC predominantly features critics of the movement, seldom including voices that represent the anti-globalist, non-interventionist views that attracted millions. This biased approach detracts from the credibility of their reporting and suggests that dissent within MAGA is solely due to personal disillusionment, ignoring legitimate ideological debates. The absence of Republican or conservative experts to provide counterpoints is a significant oversight. Visually, the segment employs close-ups and muted color palettes to bring out a sense of crisis and introspection. Although this is effective for storytelling, it risks sensationalizing the issue and overshadowing the substantive policy disagreements at the core of the movement's challenges. A more balanced broadcast would explore why many Americans remain skeptical of establishment politics across both parties, driven by years of unfulfilled promises on issues like foreign intervention and government transparency. It would also examine the failures of previous Democratic administrations, rather than portraying the current turmoil as a uniquely Republican issue. The real story involves not just individuals leaving a movement, but a political realignment, spurred by widespread frustration with a bipartisan status quo and the enduring influence of globalist interests in Washington. MSNBC's coverage, while visually engaging, misses an opportunity to dig into the deeper ideological tensions reshaping American politics. By focusing on personal testimonials over complete analysis and neglecting to examine the role of Democratic leadership in these ongoing crises, the network continues to promote a narrative that is as incomplete as it is partisan.
It took me an entire year of very restless nights in solitude, just my thoughts and I, to eventually leave. There were a variety of reasons, and to paraphrase Hemingway, my epiphany happened gradually and then suddenly all at once. There was Trump's mismanagement of COVID. There was January 6th. There were the stolen election lies. My doubts and confusion really accelerated in my odyssey after my governor, Ron DeSantis, began platforming anti-vaxxers at his pressers. And the final straw for me, even though Donald Trump was not present at the time, was May 24, 2022, which was the Uvalde, Texas school shooting.
What we are witnessing extends beyond personal disillusionment or isolated restless nights. The economic and political fragmentation within the conservative movement has tangible consequences for American families and the broader financial landscape. When supporters talk about a gradual yet sudden break, a nod to Hemingway, they are voicing a sentiment that many in the heartland have felt for years. Foundational promises are being replaced by establishment gamesmanship that has long failed working people. consider the fallout from the Epstein files. The administration's initial pledge of transparency was a rallying cry for those tired of elite impunity. When the Department of Justice abruptly closed the investigation and withheld promised disclosures, it resulted not only in a political headache but also in a significant erosion of public trust. This loss of faith has a ripple effect. When Americans doubt their leaders' integrity, consumer sentiment declines and household spending contracts. This issue goes beyond mere headlines. It affects families' sense of security and their ability to invest, save, and plan for the future. Meanwhile, media coverage often focuses on internal disputes, sensationalized with dramatic visuals and selective interviews, overlooking the economic anxieties fueling these divisions. Rather than exploring why many Americans distrust establishment narratives, the coverage frequently dismisses dissent as irrational or fringe. This approach fails viewers who are dealing with real challenges like inflation, rising interest rates that put homeownership out of reach, and a job market that favors connections over merit. In the financial sector, uncertainty breeds volatility. As political movements fracture and trust in leadership wanes, markets react cautiously. Investors pull back, small businesses hesitate to expand, and consumers feel the pinch in everything from grocery bills to gas prices. The long-term impact is a gradual drain on economic vitality, as confidence once lost is challenging to restore. Across industries, from manufacturing to agriculture to tech, the demand for genuine accountability and pro-growth, America First policies is strong. Villainous leaders seek stability, not the drama of lawsuits and media feuds. They desire regulatory clarity, not the threat of government overreach or abrupt policy shifts. For families, the priorities are clear. They want leaders who favor Main Street over Wall Street, transparency over secrecy, and American jobs over globalist agendas. The previous Democratic administration fell short in these areas, leaving a legacy of stagnant wages, ballooning deficits, and foreign entanglements that diverted resources from our communities. The contrast is stark. As the conservative movement debates its future, the economic stakes for ordinary Americans have never been higher. And the question remains whether the movement will embrace reform and realignment or repeat past mistakes, to the detriment of those it claims to represent. Well, there you have it. What we are witnessing is not the collapse of a movement, but rather the inevitable clash between principle and political convenience. The internal strife within MAGA is not a crisis, it's a reckoning. When leaders deviate from their commitment to put America first, avoid endless wars, and resist globalist agendas, the base takes notice. While the mainstream media may mock this division, they fail to explore its underlying causes. Perhaps it's because such scrutiny might highlight the shortcomings of the previous Democratic administration, such as open borders, economic stagnation, and a foreign policy that prioritized other interests over American ones. The crucial question now is whether we will return to the core values that once empowered this movement or allow the establishment to prevail once more. The choice is ours, and history will not look kindly on cowardice. Be sure to leave your comments below and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.